The day started like any other, but by evening, my world had turned upside down. I had been planning my revenge for months, letting anger guide every thought and every action. Every sleepless night, every tear shed, every tiny injustice had been stored in a mental ledger, waiting for the moment I could balance the scales. The betrayal had cut so deep that it felt like a part of me had been ripped out, and I had believed that only by returning the same pain could I ever heal. I paced my apartment, staring at the city lights outside my window, wondering if I could really go through with it. I knew in my heart that the act one contemplated would define me, not the person who had hurt me. And yet, the temptation of seeing them hurt, just a little, was intoxicating. But that night, something unexpected happened. A friend, someone I hadn't confided in about my plans for revenge, reached out with a gentle voice and an unexpected question: "What will revenge really give you?" Her words pierced through my cloud of anger, and for the first time, I hesitated. I thought about every scar I carried, both visible and invisible, and realized that each one was a reminder not just of what I had lost, but of the person I used to be before the pain. Could I really let myself become someone consumed by hatred? Could I let their betrayal define my entire existence? For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of doubt, and it scared me more than the idea of taking revenge ever could. The next few days were a battle of emotions. Memories of the betrayal clashed with moments of clarity where I remembered who I was before the darkness took over. I reflected on every choice that had led me here, every word left unsaid, every opportunity to forgive that I had ignored. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, I started to imagine a different path, one where kindness, rather than vengeance, guided my actions. It wasn't an easy decision. The temptation to lash out, to make them feel the same hurt I had endured, lingered like a shadow. Yet, with every breath, I felt the possibility of liberation growing stronger, like a fragile light pushing through a stormy sky. When I finally confronted the person who had betrayed me, it wasn't with anger or calculated cruelty. I spoke softly, honestly, sharing the pain I had endured without expecting them to feel guilty or apologetic. I expected nothing, not forgiveness, not recognition, not even a change in their behavior. And yet, as I spoke, a strange weight lifted from my chest. For the first time in months, I felt free from the chains of bitterness that had bound me. I realized that kindness didn't mean weakness, it meant strength beyond measure, the kind that could transform even the deepest wounds into a source of unexpected courage. That night, as I walked home under the dim glow of streetlights, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. The city hummed quietly around me, indifferent yet comforting, and I understood that life had offered me a choice, and I had chosen differently. Choosing kindness didn't erase the past or the pain, but it changed the way I carried it. It transformed the story I told myself every night, the one where I was a victim trapped in the cycle of anger. And in that transformation, I glimpsed the possibility of a future where I could live fully, unburdened, and unbroken. Weeks passed, and the impact of that decision began to ripple through my life in ways I had never imagined. Relationships I had neglected, friendships I had abandoned in my obsession with revenge, started to heal. People who had once been distant or indifferent began to notice the shift in me, the quiet resilience, the calm that replaced the storm of anger. I discovered that kindness had a contagious quality: it reached others in ways words often could not. The person I had once wanted to punish now seemed almost irrelevant, a shadow in the past rather than the center of my existence. My focus shifted from their actions to my own growth, from resentment to possibility, and with it, a strange and beautiful serenity began to bloom. But the real test came unexpectedly. A situation arose where someone close to me acted in a way that mirrored the betrayal I had once endured. Old instincts screamed at me to retaliate, to let my anger flare and assert control. My heart raced, my palms sweated, and I felt that familiar surge of rage. And yet, I remembered that moment of choice, the one where I had chosen differently. I paused, breathed, and responded not with harm, but with patience and understanding. The world didn't collapse. The pain didn't disappear instantly, but something far more powerful happened: I preserved myself. In that instant, I understood that kindness wasn't about sparing others, it was about saving myself from the endless cycle of hurt. As months went by, my life took on a rhythm I had long forgotten. I began to see opportunities instead of obstacles, to embrace people instead of pushing them away, and to forgive even when forgiveness seemed impossible. I realized that revenge had promised a fleeting satisfaction but would have consumed me entirely, leaving me empty and hollow. Kindness, however, opened doors to unexpected connections, to moments of grace, to a life that felt more alive than anything I had ever imagined. I started volunteering, helping strangers, and finding joy in the small acts that required no recognition. And every time I chose compassion over resentment, the weight of the past seemed to lighten, like a fog lifting from a long-trapped soul. There were moments of doubt, of course, when the memory of betrayal would flare like a sudden storm. But each time, I reminded myself of the choice I had made, the path I had chosen. I understood that my story had been rewritten not by others, but by the courage to act differently, to reject the destructive urge for revenge. And slowly, a sense of purpose emerged. Life was no longer a ledger of wrongs and debts, but a canvas waiting to be painted with acts of empathy, courage, and unexpected love. I realized that kindness was not passive, it was revolutionary, a force capable of turning despair into hope, pain into wisdom. Now, when I reflect on the turning point, I see it not as a single act but as a ripple that has reshaped everything. Choosing kindness over revenge didn't just change my life, it revealed the depths of my own strength, the resilience of the human heart, and the extraordinary power of letting go. Every choice I make now is colored by that lesson, every interaction infused with a consciousness of how transformative a simple act of empathy can be. I have learned that forgiveness and compassion are not gifts for the betrayer, they are gifts to oneself. And in that truth, I have found a life richer, fuller, and far more miraculous than anything vengeance could have offered.